The next concept I kind of wanted to touch on was the cost of untapped potential and a little bit on the psychology of regret. When I was about 12 years old, I heard this beautiful anecdote that kind of stuck with me forever, and like it still sticks with me to this day. And I can't really remember where it's from, but for some reason, I think surprisingly, I heard it from Vsauce of all people. And it's an anecdote about regret, where he says, regret is like markings engraved onto a tree. After the markings are engraved there, if they're engraved deep enough, they're never going to leave. They're always going to be a part of the tree. They will stand the test of time. So they'll be there throughout the years, throughout the seasons, fall, winter, summer, spring, every single one of the seasons. The markings will always be there. They'll never vanish. They'll never fade. They will always be a part of the tree. They will never get smaller, but they will also never get bigger. But the tree will get bigger. The tree will blossom and bear fruit and branch out and grow. And in this act of the tree growing and branching out, the markings become a smaller part of the tree. And the idea behind the anecdote is like regret can sting. Regret can be tough. And there's going to be things you regret in life. You know, up until recently, I kind of lived under not the assumption or the pretense, but I kind of just lived without regrets. I didn't regret things. For the reason being that I didn't think that regret served a purpose. I thought it was kind of silly, right? Because if you're happy with who you are, you can't regret how you got there. I think a lot of people assume that, well, they don't assume. Let me try to say this. Life is just a string of decisions that you make that change the trajectory of your life. And if you look at it as this is where your life started, and these are all the options you could have taken, you took this one, and this one, and this one, and then this one, and this one, and this kind of determines the path of your life. And I think where regret comes from is when you have a splitting point, where you could have taken this decision or you could have taken this decision. And you sit there and you look back and you think you should have taken the other decision because there's a lot more happiness that would have been associated with your life if you went the other way. The thing you don't see is there would be a lot of sadness there as well. It's not like you made the decision to your left and on the right path there's only happiness. There's going to be a lot of sadness there too. And you just don't see it. And where you currently are, there is a lot of happiness, but you only see the sad things. So it's kind of this biased look that what you could have had always seems better. But again, back to what I said originally, if you're happy with where you are now, you can't be regretful of how you got there, because no other chain of events would have gotten you to the place that you are now. There's no other, it's not all paths lead to Rome kind of situation. The way you got to where you are in life now, there was only one way to get there. So if you're happy with where you are, then you can't regret the decisions, right? And I think the reason why I've started to feel regret recently is because I wasn't too happy with where my life was going. And that's where the regret kind of sunk in. And I think as I progress to a place where I'm happier in life, I'm going to start regretting the things I regret a lot less. Just for the reason that if I get to a place where I'm happy, then the reason I would have gotten there is because I was in a position where I was regretful, where I was unhappy. The sadness that you experience now propels the next stage of your life. That's great. You don't get to the peak without going to the top of your life first. The hard times are what create the good times. So you can't regret the hard times because otherwise you would not have those good times. There was a survey done a couple of years ago that surveyed a whole bunch of people on their deathbed. And they asked the people on the deathbed, what was your biggest regret in life? And the number one answer by far, I think it was something like 90% of people answered this. They said, I wish I had the courage to live a life true to myself and not the life others expected of me. You will get to a point in your life where it's too late to make your regrets a smaller part of your life. It happens to everybody. My dad, God rest his soul, His last few years of his life were really unhappy. And I think it's because he had realized too late in life that he wasn't living the life that he wanted. He was almost 80 years old, and I think somewhere in his 70s, he's like, damn, I've wasted my chance. And in his 70s, then it is too late. What can you do? His life's been set in stone. Even if he lived his best life going forward, he only had 10 years left. A different person that I personally can attribute this to is my mom, you know? My mom is now in a really good stage in her life where she's really successful and she has a lot of the things she wanted and she's worked really hard for the things she has now. But she looks back and she kind of thinks about, she wishes she started sooner. And obviously it's not too late for her because she's now achieving the things she wanted. Yeah, it came later in life, but it still came. For most people listening to this podcast, you aren't at the stage where it's too late to make your life or to make your regrets a smaller part of your life. So I encourage you to take your regrets and outgrow them. Branch out, blossom, bear fruit, and make those things a smaller part of your life. Be true to who you are, and make sure that your biggest regret on your deathbed is that you wish you had more regrets. And whatever branching out means for you or looks like for you, that's for you to determine. I'm not psychic. I can't sit around and tell you that the key to not having regrets later on in your life is to go start your own business, because you might not care about starting your own business. I can't tell you that the key to having less regrets in your life is to go write a book, because I don't know if you want to write a book. But I think what happens is you need to do some introspection and try and figure out, what life do you want to live? Recognize that you did waste a lot of time. Maybe you're 34 years old. Maybe you're in high school listening to this. Like if you're 16 listening to this, you're in the perfect position. Go find out what you want to do with your life. Look at whether you're too late for it or just on time, whatever, and start working towards it. The best time to plant a tree was 10 years ago. The second best time to plant a tree is right now. So I encourage you, go do the things that you're putting off. Go start the things that you want to do. You're going to have a lot of regrets in life, but don't make a regret that you didn't try. You can regret the way you tried. You can regret the mistakes you made. You can regret leaving money on the table. You can regret leaving a job. But you can't regret not trying. And if you're half-hearted about something that you need to do, let's say you have some business idea but you don't know if it'll work, or you have some passion you want to pursue that you don't know if it'll work out or not. If you fail and you have to go back to your current arrangement where you're working a job you don't like, or you're stuck with a person that okay, maybe that's not a good example. You have to move back to your hometown that you despise, whatever it may be. Whatever the fallback is to failure, it's the exact same thing you're doing now. So if the worst case scenario is you go back to where you are now, and the best case scenario is you get to live out your dream, then why not try to live out your dream? I think another problem is that people assume that not everything is viable in life. And I think specifically financially viable. And it kind of reminds me of the story of the Mexican fisherman. So if you don't know the story of the Mexican fisherman, it goes something like this. There's this rich billionaire who goes on a trip to Mexico with his family, and he organizes to go on a fishing trip with the one local 6 a.m. the next day. He gets up, he gets on this little rowboat with the local Mexican man. The Mexican man's paddling them out into the middle of the water. And while he's being paddled out into the middle of the water, he turns to the Mexican man and he says, man, what you should do is, you should get a second boat and hire 2 more people to come catch fish with you. And the Mexican man looks at him and goes, I was going to do a Mexican accent, but I think that would be a little bit insensitive. The Mexican fisherman looks at him and goes, what would I do after that? And the billionaire goes, well, after you get the second boat, then you can sell more fish, you can make more money, you can buy a whole bunch of boats. And then what do I do after that? Well, after that, what you do is you start up a factory where you start selling and exporting these fish. And you start making a lot of money on it, like selling it to overseas countries. The Mexican man replies to him, and what do I do after that? And after that, you sell the company for millions of dollars and you do what you want. And the Mexican man says to him, well, what I want to do is fish. So don't sacrifice the thing you want for the thing that you think will get you what you want. If what you want to do in life is get a whole bunch of money so that you then can pursue your passions, why don't you just pursue your passions from the beginning? I promise you, in the modern day, in late stage capitalism, any idea can work. There are people that have an app in South Africa where all they do is, instead of getting a parking ticket at underground parking, you just scan the app and you pay for your phone. Who on earth thought there was a market for that 10, 20 years ago? Those people are doing super well right now. There are people that make custom dog collars for a living. You can make anything financially viable. Or if you want to go a different route of it, for a large portion of history, academics didn't make a lot of money. I promise you, Andrew Huberman is making a bunch of money from his podcast. He followed the passion and made it work. Lex Friedman is making a bunch of money from his podcast. He followed the passion and made it work. Sorry. Whatever you want to do, go out and try it and worry about making it viable later. You'll find the path to viability if you just stick with it long enough. So go do what you want to do. Go find out what it is to be true to yourself and go live out that true life, and don't live with regrets. Blossom, bear fruit, branch out. Be the person you want to be. Hey guys, hope you enjoyed that clip from the interview of Argu. If you want to come onto the podcast, remember, all are welcome. Just fill in the form in the description and we'll see if we can have you on. If you want to watch the full podcast, click on the link here. If you want to watch anything else from the channel, click on the link here. Thanks for watching, guys.